time that Jackson called out the media for ignoring then-candidate Biden's gaffes on the campaign trail, including this one.
I have a simple proposition here. I'm here to ask you for your help. Where I come from, you don't get far unless you ask. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay? That's all I've really got to say to you.
That led Jackson to tweet, "Remember the cognitive test that I gave real Donald Trump? The one he aced? Sounds like somebody else might need some testing done. Scary." Jackson writes in his new memoir that within 20 minutes of posting that tweet, he received a scathing email from President Obama, which read in part, "I have to express my disappointment at the cheap shot you took at Joe Biden via Twitter. It was unprofessional and beneath the office that you once held. It was also disrespectful to me and the many friends you had in our administration. You were the personal physician to the President of the United States as well as an admiral in the U.S. Navy. I expect better, and I hope upon reflection, you will expect more of yourself in the future." Kaylee, scathing indeed from his former patient.
From his former patient, that's right. You know, when I came into the Trump administration, Dr. Jackson was no longer there, but I kept hearing about this just love and admiration for Dr. Ronnie Jackson and how it was reflected in a bipartisan way across administrations. And I met Dr. Jackson, and I found that to be true in the case. But I think the Obama email so neatly sums up the problem with the 2020 election. There was this guy in the basement, and there were certain things that were beyond question. What was beyond question was you could not question his health. You could not do that. You could not question his son and the business dealings of Hunter Biden and the relation that had to Joe Biden. Could not do it. You could not question why he stayed in the basement, why he would call a lid at 9 a.m. We'd be on Air Force One off to 5 rallies. He'd call a lid at 9 a.m. You couldn't question these things. And the Obama email was an attempt to silence one of those questions from someone who is a doctor, someone who's respected even by Obama himself. And you compare that with what happened to President Trump when he hydroplaned down a ramp, when they said he struggled to drink a glass of water, when he went to Walter Reed for a routine procedure. You know, all of those things were called into question as he did 5 rallies a day and clearly did not have health issues.
That's right. And Joe, you know, when you dare to go against the machine, Dr. Jackson wrote about that as well, that as he sort of toyed with how to respond, that he then discarded any response whatsoever. And he said, "You guys abandoned me while I was struggling during my confirmation process. I heard crickets. I only hear you coming back when I've dared to question the machine."
That's what bothers me about this letter, right? Because you hear the former president and Obama say that you were my doctor and you were my friend. So whenever I have to air some grievances, like a festivus of grievances, to my friends, I always get out the email and send something as formal as that. No, I pick up the phone. I said, "Come on, what are you doing?" So this sums up exactly who the author was as far as being elitist and pretentious. But it turns out that Dr. Jackson was right in his perspective in 2020 as far as Joe Biden was concerned. I'm old enough to remember, by the way, when we weren't supposed to question members of the medical community, particularly those that have treated 3 presidents, but now Jackson's at fault, right? The bottom line is that Barack Obama knew and didn't want it to get out that the possible successor to Donald Trump was already having some cognitive issues at age 77, which he was at the time. And it's why now that New York Times poll says that 2/3 of Democrats don't want him to run again. The number one reason, because he's too old. And then when you break it down by age, Shannon, it comes to 94% of those under 30 don't want him to run. The perception is real. We all see what we see, Emily.
Okay, but do we all see it, or does one person not see it? Let's throw up a video of how the president responds when he's asked about that very fact.
Mr. President, what's your message to Democrats who don't want you to run again?
They want me to run.
2/3 say they
Read
don't.
the polls. Read the polls, Jack. You guys are all the same. That poll showed that 92% of Democrats, if I ran, would vote for me.
A majority of Democrats say they don't want you to run again in 2024.
92% said if I did, they'd vote for me.
And then here's a poll that says something different, Joe, that you just referenced.
Okay.
Democratic voters that say 64% would prefer a different candidate in 2024, Shannon.
Well, I think it's interesting. First of all, that's an extreme close-up when he approaches the camera. Like, none of us really wants the camera that close up in our face. But he says, look at the polls, Jack. He says 92% say that they would vote for me. So that's a different question than that poll number. The question, the poll he's talking about asked Democrats if President Biden was running against President Trump today, who would you vote for? Like, you don't get to choose a nominee. This is your guy. Today, he says, rightly, that 92% of Democrats said they would vote for him. But that means 8% of Democrats right now, if he was running against President Trump, would vote for President Trump. I mean, those aren't great numbers for him, though he wants to splice and dice them as if they are.
And the thing that we keep talking about, Harris, is that now the mainstream media has come on board. Now it's become part of a national conversation.
Oh, I don't know that they've come on board. What they're doing is they're calling out the stark, shiny objects. They're not necessarily calling balls and strikes. They're just saying that one almost hit me in the head, so I guess I better deal with it. You
have to acknowledge it.
Yeah. So, I mean, because how do we know that? Because when the president says something like that, you don't get the kind of pushback with fact that you would hope that you would get from a press corps, right? You don't get what Shannon just said. Well, Mr. President, you might be right about that in a hypothetical with Mr. Trump, but that's not the question that was asked, right? So it's difficult to go apples and apples, I know, in the moment, but that's their job. So I wouldn't give them so much credit. They do have to keep up. We do have a Festivus of grievances. That was like the best line of the day today. I love that.
Seinfeld
right?
can be worked into anything.
There's so many gaffes, and there's so many missteps, physical and mostly verbal, right? So the Festivus of grievances, which I can't get over that Joe Concha uses that. That's so delicious.
Only a 25-year-old
Also
reference.
includes policy. It also includes what's happening in crises. And I can't ignore the fact that on this date in 1981, that was the last time that we were dealing with inflation this high. And I know we're going to get to that, but there's some people who have been hurting who are about to really hurt in this country. And we need somebody to be gaff-free for a while. People said they were tired of the tweets. Maybe some people might be tired of the gaffes and the high prices. Like, that's the Festivus of grievances where I would go, you know, that we're hearing about from the American people. And that's what matters.
I want to defend that reporter for a second, if you don't mind. Of course. Because he didn't push back, maybe, because he's like, wait, who's Jack? Was he talking to me?
His name wasn't Jack?
I don't think his name actually was Jack.
Oh, my goodness.
Pretty sure
It was Mark Meredith from Fox.
I didn't even know it was our guy. He called him Jack like he knew him.
Yeah, Mark's like, is Jack around to
Was he confused, or is that like a colloquial insult?
I think back in the 50s, you called somebody Jack.
Oh.
You know?
So
That's the fact, Jack. That's
Didn't he do that when he
Like
challenged
vintage.
someone to a push-up contest?
I think so.
Yeah, remember that?
It's one
Did he
of
say,
his
Jack, like,
standard-
let's go?
Yeah.
Yeah,
do the
along
push-up.
with dog-faced pony soldier, it's like his colloquial vernacular. So.
Time for to spit out.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.